Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope that you all are doing great. I'm doing okay. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial and having a little bit of fun. We're going to be making some more of these little rosettes. I guess they're rosette flowers. Some embellishments I made on the 11th for August. Embellishments on the 11th. I said I would do a tutorial. So here is the tutorial. You're going to need some patience, needle and thread, scissors, and ribbon of your choice, of your choosing. And I normally don't burn my ribbon, but it seems to help. So we're going to be burning ribbon as well. So you go ahead and get all your stuff, and I'll be here when you come back. When it comes to measuring how much you're going to use, I just do one arm's length, and that could be more, that could be too much for whatever project I'm working on. So I would recommend maybe 12 inches, so one ruler length, and go from there, right? But you can put as much or as little as you want. Remember, you only have 3 yards. This one only has 3 yards. I picked this up from Walmart. It was $1. These two I purchased in like a bundle from different places, and we're going to talk about this. And this is a Joann Fabric spool of ribbon. I think this costs $2 or $3. I bought it a while back. I really love the stores that have like a little value section. You can get, you know, pretty ribbon for that. I thought this color was really pretty. It doesn't say the color on here, which is unfortunate. So it's like a pink salmon color. So once you get your ribbon and everything, you're going to need some embellishments. I'm just going to go ahead and pull out. We won't make a lot, maybe 4 together. So I'm going to pull out a few sizes. I'm going to get this big old thing out the way. These buttons definitely will increase the prettiness of your project. So if you use a different kind of button, which I do think you should use different buttons, it'll give it a different feel. Like I have some red buttons that I can use with green ribbon, and I can do some Christmas embellishments. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, you've seen me do this before with the rosettes. It's the same way. I did go ahead and cinch the edges. And your thread doesn't matter what color thread you use, because you won't need it. Also, I don't have one with me, but I would recommend getting some little circles, fabric circles or felt circles, so that you can put them on the back of your project. But see, like this, you don't really need it to be on the back, because you're going to just push this down on something. So I don't feel like that's needed, but it would definitely add to the completion portion of it. I'm going to do the three or four sizes, and I'm going to do the laces already kind of created. This one, or one of those colors. So I folded this over. If you can see it, just folded it over. If you want to make yours extra neat, you can take a little iron, some heat, and make it like that. And I'm going to come in from the back with my knot. I did choose to get a longer piece of thread just because I don't like rethreading my needle a lot of times. But when you use a longer piece of thread, you just have to keep in mind that it could get tangled up. And now I'm just going to do a running stitch. So if you have a sewing machine and you like doing your sewing, sewing projects like that, you can definitely do it. And I also recently purchased some longer needles, because I feel like that would speed up my process. And I am just looking at it and gauging where I want the needles to come in and out of, because the spacing is up to you. If you want big loops, you have wider spacing, but it's just a simple running stitch, and then just pull through. Again, it doesn't matter the color, but if you're one of those people that want your things to be color coordinated, get whatever string you need. I like the white because I can see what I've done and see. So as we pull it together, it's going to cinch up and create a ruffling effect. So that is all I'm going to do this whole way through. I'll come back to you when we have done all of that. Okay, so now that we have got our thread all the way to the edge of our ribbon, again, I don't recommend going like, ooh, I want to make a big fluffy ribbon. If you want to make a big or rosette, if you want to make like a huge one, what I would recommend is that you just stack it on top of itself. Like, don't, you see how that looks now? Don't use a lot of the ribbon. No more than 12 inches. Like, this is a little bit too long. I'm about to show you why. So now that you have your running stitch done, all you're going to do is just pull this through, and you can see it's starting to ruffle up. And you don't want it to coil around on itself. You want it to basically stay intact like that. My cat snuck in here. So yeah. He knows that's a big no-no. So as I ruffle it up, I'm pulling it together. And you can see that it doesn't want to like make a perfect circle, but we're going to force that circle, so no worries. So I'm pulling the edge back some. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this together like that. And now you can see how it has started to coil and curl and ruffle up. And I think it looks really pretty. This satiny polyester looks, I like that a lot. It's really pretty. This color also, it's not my normal crafting color, but it looks nice. So if you wanted to, what I would recommend is that this is what I recommend. You tie your knot. And you know I like to be extra secure with my knot tying. So I'll tie it a few times, like 4. 4 times, right? 3 or 4 times. And that is our flower. We are good. This is, it's a done deal, right? Or I'm not sure what we call these things, but I like it. Now right here, you can't really see, so we did it pretty good by folding these things underneath and coiling them over. But if you wanted to, you could just go ahead and cinch these together, stitch them really quickly, sew them together so they don't come apart. But I feel like that's it's overdone for what we're doing, you know, essentially paper crafting or whatever. It's not going to be worn. We're not going to put this on our head, or we're not selling these for like hair bow, not trinkets, embellishments. So it's not really needed. So I'm just going to remake my knot. Now here's the option. If you have a flat button or bead or whatever, you don't have to do it the next step that I'm about to show you. You could just glue this, like even with these, if you wanted to, you could take some fabric tack and just glue it down and you would be done, right? No need to fuss about it. But I just like the extra security that I gave myself with these. I know it's not going to come off. So what I do is I just take my needle, go through the back or the shank, and then I'm going to pull this up through here. And as you can see, I'm just going to stitch it through something, one of those little folds, right? And the reason why I'm stitching it through the folds is because I don't want this knot to show. We're going to cut it down, but I don't want it to show. So we're going to put our button through here. And you can leave your button a little bit loose right now. It's not a major thing if it's not actually on. And so I'm just going to find another piece of fabric to go through. And now we start to see our piece come through. And we're just going to find the opening again. So we're going to just stitch through it. Try not to cross your thread. That could be a catastrophe waiting to happen. So now we're just going to gingerly pull this. Because you know sometimes threads like, oh, you went through, I'm going to split and I'm going to ruin whatever project it is that you call yourself working on at the moment. And there you have it. And I'm just giving this a nice tug. And now what I'm going to do to make sure it's really secure, so I'm just going to go on the back of my flower. And I'm going to stitch this. Now, I haven't watched anyone make a project like this before, but I'm not the originator. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I know that there's probably a lot of ladies out there, or crafters, gentlemen, seamstress who did this. So I don't want to take away from anyone's project. I just didn't watch anyone's video. I'm like, oh, I want to try that. You know, I want to do that. Have I thumbed through pages and seen ruffly flowers before? So now I'm just going to take this and go through this because we're done. Uh-oh, knocked something over. And I'm getting ready to just make a knot with my thread and needle. I'm going to do that 3 times because 3rd time's a charm, right? That's what they say. The statement, what? Measure twice, cut once. You know, that's not true in my case, though. But anyway, so yeah, I don't want anyone to say, oh, I saw, you know, so-and-so do this and you didn't give credit. I'm saying there's probably a lot of people out there, but I don't have anyone particular that I was like, oh yeah, I watched them and now. So there you have it. That's the first one. And these don't take a long time to do, but they are easy to do. You can watch television while you're doing them. What I recommend if you're going to make a lot of these is to go ahead and cut your ribbon. Whatever you're using, go ahead and cut it. And then make them. So if you need to make 20, cut out your 20 strands. And then stitch. You could use your sewing machine. I know I've seen people do running stitches on different things. Now I have did this project before. But what I did before is I just took some fabric and I cut it, you know, and made little flowers and did like this. I was going to use this one, but it won't come out like that. So I'll have to do something different with that particular fabric. A lot of these are seam bindings, edges for certain things. So you know, it's like the scraps are little pieces that you need. So we're going to use this one. And again, you already see that it has some sort of edge on here. So if you think about when you crinkle all this edge up, it's going to get extra small. So we're just going to, again, no more than 12 inches or so. You don't need a whole bunch. And if you find that that's not large enough for you, you could always, the next one, cut more. Right, and so this does have a front and a back. So you can see how it looks. So we're just going to, well, in my opinion, it has a front and a back. So this looks like it's the front and that looks like it's the back. So we're going to start right here, fold over. I would always recommend folding over. And I didn't cinch the edges on that lace. And again, another running stitch. If you also want to, you can stitch this piece closed. I'm not that fussy about it, but if you are, then by all means, you know, do that. Just a running stitch. I have poked myself before, so if you need to pull out your thimble, go ahead and do that. And as you can see, this is how it's going to ruffle up. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that. All right, so as I pull my thread, you can see that our circle is starting to form. And this one, you probably could use less thread because it's already forming. But you know, this is kind of thin when you think about it. You want it to be a little bit more fuller. And that's why you would add more of the ribbon to it to give it a fuller look. But don't go overboard like I did on this one, because I really had to get creative with how I layered it. I had to sew a side together, and I didn't want to do that. I prefer if it was enough, you know, not too much. Like this could have used a little bit more. This is definitely too much. So I keep that in mind. I would keep that in mind if I were you, when you start doing that. Because this one you could double up too, but we're not going to double it up. We're just going to cinch this together like that. and go from there. All right, so I just tied this in a knot, and now you have this little opening to alleviate, you know, cutting your thread and re-knotting it. You don't have to do that. You can definitely just find the bead, the thing that you want to go in the center. We can use this one that's a bit big. How about this one? That's cute, a little button, right? And so since we already have this sewn in, it's gonna put this through. We're just gonna go down. Always try to go down on the thing that you already have cinched, not up in this area. You don't wanna make it look funny. And there you go, right? So we're gonna just do the same thing I did on the previous one. We're gonna go back through some fabric, pull, and we're gonna go through our button. And now we're going to adjust. Yep, there you go. And now we're going to go one more time through and out. Then we'll do the back. And this is just an extra measure of security for the button not to pop off, right? But really, I mean, if you're thinking about these as craft projects, embellishments, no one's going to be messing with it where it's going to fly off any kind of way. No one's going to be like, oh, let me see how you got this button on here. Or what is this? And pull the button off. No one should, at least. And now we're just going to cinch this up in the back. I think sometimes if people, you know, want to know how you made it, they should just ask you. You can say, oh, I just used some needle and thread, and I threaded it. All right, so now last one, we got about, this is a roughly about 24 inches, and that's fine. 24 inches should be okay. And this is not the same fabric. I don't know what kind of fabric it is. It doesn't say, it just says decorating craft floral gift. But you can tell it's not like, I don't know, it's like paper, plastic paper ribbon. I don't know. I don't care for the texture, but I think that it makes a very nice bow. So you see I folded it over and I've just put some stitches in, and we're just going to create our running stitch. Now I do want to talk about the thread that you use. I feel like you can use any thread you want. I would actually recommend not using your good thread for this, unless all you have is good thread. Then by all means use your good thread, but you know, most thread should hold up to the test of this project. But at the end, when you get ready to tie them, don't pull tight, too rough, because it could tear and you have to re-stitch this thing over. I was making some crepe paper rosettes yesterday, and that is what occurred to me. So sometimes a little finesse goes more better than brute strength. So we're just going to do this. I do enjoy this craft project. It is not too time consuming, but it is time consuming, if that makes any sense. Like, I think for me, it takes me about 10 minutes. And I'm just a slow crafter, but it takes about 10 minutes for me to do one. And that's fine. I'm not making a, you know, I'm not preparing a wedding decoration, and I have 100 guests coming, and I need 4 on the table, and I got 25 tables to do. No, I'm not doing that, so I'm not too concerned about it. Now, if you make your stitches smaller, you know, it's going to gather differently. If you make them pretty even, wider, it's going to make it look kind of like this, like a bigger bow, a curl is a good word. Yes, curl. So that's definitely up to you how why'd you make your stitch? If you don't want to hand stitch this and you have a sewing machine, by all means, do whatever. I'm just folding this over. You know, do whatever is going to be easiest for you, because somebody may actually need 100 of these things for a wedding. And I would definitely recommend going with a sewing machine. So you see, we're just going to gather this up, and I'm going to hold on to this one, and we're going to pull. Now, the reason why I mentioned about the thread is because we're wasting some thread. So you could use junk thread. I usually get thread from like the thrift store when I see it, and like one of the craft stores I go to has fabric and things like that, and if I really like it, I'll grab it, I'll pick it up and use it. I don't need any thread really. I bought some. I like thread a lot. I like trinkety things, as you all may know. So sewing stuff and doing all that kind of stuff, it's little hand trinkets, and I enjoy it. So I'm just making another knot. I do like to just be secure that I have good knots on. Okay, so now we're just going to come through this thing and do that. And you can hear the different fiber versus this and even this. Like this has no sound. This has like a satiny sound, and this has like papery sound. So there we go, and that is that. So we're gonna find. I think that these work better on the smaller pieces because it just matches, right? So if we were to put this on this per se, it would look pretty. It just depends on what you're doing. I do have larger buttons, so I like to try to use them. I rarely use my buttons anyway, so I might as well get some good use out of them. So we're going to do the same thing I showed you a few minutes ago. I'm going to just put this through. Pick our button. Oh, that's fading. These buttons came from Joann Fabric. I try to buy the buttons when they have them on sale, like buy one, get one free, or buy two, get two free. I enjoy that. I don't like buying 4 and getting 1 free. I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth like that. So they recently had a sales like buy 3, get 2 free. So I'm waiting on them to have a buy 3, get 3 free. And I don't need any buttons, so I try to stay away from the button aisle. I do like to go and look at it, but I don't buy it. And if you wanted to, you could, you know, if you were buying 3, getting 2 free, you can buy the most expensive one, and then you can get all the little cute smaller ones, the cheaper ones for free, I guess, if you were you know, I poked myself just so you know. You know, buy 1 and get 3 free. You could definitely try to figure out how you could get the best deal, the best bang for your buck. This thread is stuck, and I probably went through something I wasn't supposed to, so I'm just going to do that. I just pulled that one piece that was stuck down, and now on the back we're just going to stitch it up. So I hope that you have found this to be helpful for you. I do like making these a lot, probably more than I should admit to, but I do enjoy it. I'm not gonna stitch that all. I'm just gonna tie it in a knot. And you can do it practically with any thread, not any thread, any ribbon. You can take scraps, and make some strips and do it that way. Like I have this one. I really want to use this fabric. I have a lot of it. I had bought it when I lived in Connecticut. Again, like those little flea market places. Because I enjoyed it so much buying these things for good deals. I think I got this for like a couple of bucks. So you see. And I haven't really been doing anything with it. Like I thought I was going to sew stuff. make things. And I still could. I mean, I'm holding out the hope. But I have come to the realization that I can't do everything. I can't make everything. So some of my craft things I have been purging. So if you wanted to do this, I would recommend this, right? So I would recommend, and I've did this before in a video. So if you're curious, I have done this before. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll this over onto itself. And this is a lot of fabric. So you don't even need that much fabric, right? And now I have this. I'm going to take my scissors. I'm just going to freehand some petals. Put those scissors to the test right there. Okay. Now you have this. Okay. So if you want it to be shabby, you can always just pull some of the thread out and it will fray. And I'm not bothered by it fraying. So I'm just going to cut some of that down because I don't need all of this on there. Okay. So again, it's roughly about 24 inches, which is fine. So we're going to do the same exact thing, and this time we're going to make sure that we stitch this up. So we're going to stitch it from the bottom, from the top. And the reason why we're stitching from the top because we're going to create a running stitch at the bottom, so we don't want to cause any issues for our selves, right? So now we have that. And now we're just going to, you see we had that little bit of thread left. I don't really like to have that small amount of thread, even though we are just cinching this up essentially, and we don't need that much thread. But I like to have enough thread that I know that I'm going to be safe. Right? I do like polka dots, polka dot fabric. In some instances, not big giant polka dotty things, but this is fine. And as you can see, it starts to coil already, a curve, and that's fine and dandy. So like I said, you can use just about any kind of fabric-y ribbon, scraps that you want. I don't recommend the actual true plastic ribbon, unless it's wide, if it's wide enough, because I feel like you'd tear it. Some things I don't think have enough give to them. So if it's not going to give properly, it would be, in my opinion, a waste of effort to try. But, we sew paper, so you can probably sew that plasticky ribbon stuff. And see how it is. Can't believe my cat snuck in here. I'm not a big fan of having my cat in the craft room because, he steals stuff off the desk. He'll steal like any pencil, pen. And plus I don't like having, for me, I don't like having his fur all over the place. But that's just me. Because I like seeing kitty cats in other people's craft room. Because, cats come in and they just take over. Cats are very much, even though, dogs do the same thing, cats tend to be like, listen, human, my food dishes, I ate 3 kibbles out and I need more food in my food dish. So now we're going to just pull this, and you see how that looks. And we're just going to stitch this up. And I want to try to use some more little tiny stitching. 'Just like that. And I'm going to pull this down and around to this one. Okay, make some knots. All right, and now we're going to fluff it out. You know, the good thing about paper and some crafting material, I should just say some crafting material, not just paper and paper, because you can, you know, manipulate the paper to, you can manipulate the craft material to do what you need it to do. And there you have that one, right? So, I'm going to use this button right here. I think that's pretty. And so, just going to try to manipulate this a little bit more. Okay. All right, so I sewed the button on. Forget you want to see me do that every time. And it's the same way. I'm just going to tie this in a knot though, versus sewing it on. I'm just going to cut this. I try to keep my fabric scissors with all the fabric thingies that I do, versus, you know, matching paper scissors with the other ones. And that is our completed. This is going to drive me crazy, just so you know. But we could just do this. And if we really want to, I could just cinch it up. So that looks good. Yeah, that is our completed project. And look, if you wanted to, you could do this. Even something weird and funky like that. But anyway, that is the end of this thing before I get really extra weird. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please let me know if you have any more questions or comments about how I made these right here. Thank you for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.